After a brutal Middle East war, Iran says Washington has still failed to isolate the Islamic Republic. Tehran has mocked the US-led security initiative, calling the Bahrain summit nothing more than a political show. Iran has hit back at the United States, Bahrain, and Western powers during a fiery exchange at the UN Security Council. Amir Said Iravani said, and I quote, "I categorically reject the baseless allegation made by the United States. Once again, the representative of the United States has resorted to lies and disinformation against Iran. I also reject the unfounded accusation made by certain Western members of the Council and the representative of Bahrain. Defensive measures were directed against US military facilities and bases and assets in the region from which attacks against Iran were launched." Unquote. As Washington rallies regional allies, Tehran insists the Middle East is no longer buying the American narrative. Iran has rejected the US security blueprint, saying lasting peace cannot be imported from outside the region. Tehran has fired back after the United States gathered 12 regional partners at a security summit in Bahrain. CENTCOM statement read, and I quote, "U.S. Central Command led a regional security dialogue hosted by the Bahrain Defense Force, July 1st, for regional defense leaders from 12 nations. Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander, and senior military officials from Bahrain, Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, the UAE, and Yemen discussed the current regional security environment and opportunities for enhancing defense collaboration across the region. Leaders underscored their shared commitment to the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz. Admiral Brad Cooper said, "We continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our regional partners. The discussions underscored our shared commitment to regional security and stability. The United States and regional partners operate the world's most sophisticated and largest active air and missile defense umbrella across the Middle East." In January, CENTCOM and regional countries established a new Middle Eastern Air Defense Coordination Cell for sharing information and threat warnings as well as responding to contingencies. The security dialogue marked the first time military leaders from Syria and Lebanon participated in a regional defense conference led by the United States. Unquote. Iran has mocked the US military, declaring that outside powers cannot even protect themselves. Abbas Araghchi said, and I quote, "Has CENTCOM brought security or insecurity to our region? The answer is clear. Equally, our powerful armed forces have proven that outsiders cannot even protect themselves. Peace in our region can only be sustained when comprehensive and inclusive, with no outside interference." Unquote. Tehran has condemned the CENTCOM summit, accusing Washington of exporting instability across the region. Iran says the United States is engaging in nothing more than performative posturing after the recent war. Tehran insists its strikes on US military bases were acts of self-defense under international law. Iran says security in the Strait of Hormuz is its own responsibility, not CENTCOM's. Washington's position, however, remains sharply different from Tehran's view on the future of Hormuz.
You know, the Iranians have not hit ships in the last couple of weeks, and the oil is flowing in the Strait of Hormuz, in part because the president made very clear that if the Iranians hit ships, we were going to hit back. So, you know, it's going to take sometimes the carrot and the stick here. But, Laura, I actually think that the United States is in a great position, however the negotiation ultimately shakes out. If the negotiation is successful, which obviously we want it to be successful, you have an Iran that is permanently transformed, that's not funding regional terrorism and instability, that has permanently given up on any nuclear weapons ambition, and that as a result is welcomed back into the world economy. That's a great outcome for the American people. It's a great outcome for the whole region. But Laura, if on the other hand the Iranians don't behave, if they don't make the concessions in the negotiations that we need to see, their nuclear program is still destroyed, their conventional military is still destroyed, and the United States is still in a much stronger position relative to the Iranians. So my attitude on this, Laura, is we have all the cards in the negotiation. There are people within the Iranian system who recognize the way that they've done business for 47 years is a mistake, and they want to turn over a new leaf. You also see some resistance, some of the old hardliners, some of the old radicals who don't want to change their behavior. Part of what we're trying to do in this negotiation, Laura, is to see how serious they actually are. And to be serious, they've got to not just say the right things, they've got to make real concessions. So whether it's the president, me, anybody else in the negotiation, we care a lot less about what the Iranians say. We care a lot more about what they do. We see some positive signs. Obviously, we see some negative signs. What the president has told us is work the problem, see where the negotiation is going to lead. And if it doesn't lead to a successful resolution on the diplomatic side, we still have a lot of optionality, and we've still accomplished a whole lot for the American people.
Tehran is now warning regional countries not to place their trust in America's security guarantees. Iran says Washington is trying to hide what it calls unlawful behavior behind regional security summits. Even as peace negotiations continue, Iran and the United States have opened a new front in their war of words.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.